Hello, I hope all is well. Episode 4 of building a 10 HP Ironman Pker, starting out with getting 34 watermelon from one patch. I don't think that's exactly a record, but I've never seen anything like that. It seems like an awful lot. So in this episode, I'll mostly be getting some of the Desert Treasure and Myth Gloves Prereq quests knocked out, and these are a little more challenging and take a little bit longer, given that I have to stay 10 HP and can't actually do any damage. Requires a lot of rings of recoil and just ends up taking a lot longer, but ultimately still can be done. So I really needed to get Shiloh Village done as well for two reasons, actually. The first being that it gives me access to the village itself, which has the gem mine rocks, and those are really important for opals, for dodgy necklaces, but also for all the sapphires I'm going to need for rings of recoil, as well as rubies later on for amulets of strength. The second reason is that it is a prerequisite quest for One Small Favor, which gives me access to Guthix Rest Tea, which is an absolute must for both the Lost City and Shadow of the Storm quest, as both of those boss monsters can hit higher than 9 HP, meaning they could one-shot me, and the only way to boost my HP above 10, unless I get 80 plus Herblore for Cerebrus, is actually to use Guthix Rest Tea, which is definitely much easier. So I actually didn't know this, but you can't set up a cannon in the Dwarven Mines, so I didn't end up finishing One Small Favor right now, but I got far enough in it to make the Guthix Rest Tea, which is really all I needed, and if I need those 10k experience lamps, I'll come back and finish it later. Next, I went on to do Tai Bhiwani Trio, and I only had one chance to cook this Karambuan, and fortunately I nailed it. Otherwise I'd have to get level 65 fishing before I could continue. But I finished this quest for one reason, for the small amount of attack and strength experience, but also a trick that I'm going to be using in one of the later quests here, and that is the Karambuan Poison. I'm not sure how many people know this, but the Karambuan Poison is actually the same as Weapon Poison++. The only difference is that it can only be applied to spears or hastas. I quickly finished Demon Slayer so that I could use my new toy in completing Shadow of the Storm quest. What makes Shadow of the Storm so difficult for 10 HP accounts is that you can't suicide inventories of food into his area because they disappear upon your death. So you have to kill him with one inventory, meaning you have to poison him. And prior to getting the Karambuan Poison Spear, the best poison I had was an Iron Dagger regular poison that I stole from a rogue in the wilderness. And Weapon Poison++ is available from the Chaos Elemental, but I felt like that was really a long shot trying to kill him with a cannon at 40-some range. So I discovered the Karambuan Poison, putting it on a spear. It does require me to take a small amount of defense experience. I think it's definitely worth it though, because you can just simply poison him and kind of wait behind this little flame here and let the poison kill him, and then just go in and do the final hit with the Darklight Sword. I did first reduce my stats by drinking a bunch of Dwarven Stouts to minimize how high I would hit and therefore how much experience I would gain. But completing Shadow of the Storm did allow me to finish Evil Dave from Recipe for Disaster, so that's one more step down. Another medium to long-term goal for this account is to get some of the God Books for PKing, which will require a long clue scroll grind, but also completion of the Horror from the Deep quest. In order to prepare for Horror from the Deep, I knew I'd have to make a bunch of anchovy pizzas, so I bought pizza supplies whenever I had the chance. I ended up making like 200 pizzas, and the reason you need all these pizzas is because you have to kill 2 Dagonoth, each with about 120 HP, and now that's a lot of recoiling. So what you need to do is suicide multiple inventories full of pizzas down into this cave. The reason you need to suicide these inventories of pizzas is because each of these Dagonoth has about 120 HP, and on a 10 HP account, there's no way you could recoil that much damage with just one inventory. Now, what I mean by suicide, if you're not familiar with that term, you basically get a full inventory of pizzas, go into the dungeon, and die on purpose. That way, your items lost on death will be the full inventory of pizzas, and they will stay on the ground for 1 hour, and you'll be able to pick them up. And once you've suicided maybe 2 or 3 inventories of pizza, whatever you're comfortable with, then you go in for the fight. I decided to suicide a couple inventories of pizzas for the baby Dagonoth and then go back and regroup and dump another couple inventories to do the mother. Don't forget, you do have to do at least 1 damage for the kill to count. It's probably best just to wait till the health is really low and then use Wind Strike, although you have to be careful on the mother. You've got to make sure and wait until she's vulnerable to air spells. It's also really important when fighting the mother that you stay in her melee range or pray protect from range. Her range attack can one-hit a 10 HP pure, but the max hit for either of these guys with melee is 9, so that's really convenient. You can just eat a pizza after every hit. A bite of anchovy pizza heals 9, so that's perfect. It's the best food for this situation. Although you can use chocolate cakes as well, just to kind of supplement them. Chocolate cakes help because they are 3 bites per inventory space, but you can only use those after she's hit a 5 or less. Chocolate cakes are actually perfect for this next segment, which is freeing Pirate Pete from Recipe for Disaster. In this section of the quest, you need to give Nung, the Mogre, 5 Mudskipper hides. Now you have to give them to him all at once. You can't go back to the surface with Mudskipper hides or they will disappear. So you must be able to recoil all 5 Mudskippers in one inventory. This is where chocolate cakes are possibly your best option. Mudskipper's max hit is 4 and chocolate slices heal 5, so you just wait till your HP gets down to 5 and eat a chocolate slice. I guess one better option would be if you have baskets of strawberries. That way you could have a total of 25 in healing from one inventory space, but if you don't have a bunch of strawberries on an Ironman, just simply take the cakes that you've stolen and use a chocolate bar with them. It does take level 50 cooking, but it adds increase 1 of healing for each bite. As a 10 HP account, I don't want to take on any unnecessary hit points experience, so I waited until my cooking was level 60 to even try this, and I came through in the clutch, so I do not have to kill another crab. Just to make sure I mention, 60 isn't any sort of requirement. You only need 31 to cook the fish cake, but I really wanted to minimize my chance of burning it so I didn't have to go back and take any more HP experience. I upgraded my range gear a little bit, made myself an adamant crossbow, and realized I had nothing in the amulet slot, so I killed a few imps and got myself the most famous free-to-play noob amulet, Amulet of Accuracy. I've now got a plus 102 range bonus for cannoning, and I decided to try Elder Chaos Druids a little bit. I do want to get the Elder Chaos Druid robes at some point, but I also really need the herbs to make Guthix Rest Teas right now. Herblore is pretty slow right now. I'm growing herbs as fast as I can, but I'm running out of seeds, so I keep having to go back and pickpocket the Master Farmer. I do need to get Herblore up enough to where I can at least make super attack and strength, and hopefully eventually some ranging potions for PKing. So I really wanted to get my magic up a little bit by doing some splashing, but I didn't have any metal boots, so I got 17 Slayer doing Wilderness Slayer, and then I came down here in the Lumbridge Caves and cannoned a few cave slimes. Fortunately got it pretty quickly, got me those iron boots. Alright, there's 50 farming. I haven't done any of the tithe farm or anything. It's just been all conventional. To be honest, I really like doing farm runs. Just kind of breaks up whatever you're doing, give you a little break from grinding out other skills and whatnot. And there's 37 Herblore as well. I can now Greenman's Ale and make some prayer potions. I don't really need the prayer potions at the moment, but I need to get that Herblore up to where I can make those super attacks and strength. And there's where my account sits at the end of episode 4, so there's my overall stats. I feel like I've made some pretty good progress so far, but I definitely have a long way to go before I become a threat to anybody in the wilderness or PvP worlds. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching. I do hope you found it interesting, and I hope you're enjoying this series so far. I've enjoyed making it, and I do plan on continuing as long as I still feel as though I can make decent content out of it. I'll see you next time.